I will call the meeting to order for Wednesday, 2017. It is 7:15. We had a executive session of the Urban Renewal Commission prior to this meeting. We will have an executive session of the City Commission following this meeting. We do not anticipate having to come back into regular session after the executive session. Call a roll, please.
Commissioner Ide? Here. Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Here.
Commissioner Mengelberg?
Here.
Mayor Holliday?
Here. If you would please rise and join me in flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, under 3A 17-298, Willamette Falls Riverwalk Design Celebration, June 3rd. Ms. Turway.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to introduce Christina Robertson Gardner, our senior planner.
Hey.
Thank you. Thanks. I will be quick.
So, while this is loading, after more than a year of robust public outreach, 2.5 years from the adoption of the framework plan, and a little over 7 years of the federal bankruptcy, we have a preferred concept for the Riverwalk and identification of Phase 1. And so I'm really excited to announce the June 3rd design celebration at OMSI from 1 to 5. It's an open house style. There will be right now tentatively two presentations about 1:30 and 3 o'clock from the principal at Snøhetta. The design event is, we're going to be in the auditorium near the planetarium, as well as a celebration area and plaza out behind OMSI near the submarine. So you'll have kind of two opportunities, one to learn about and see the preferred design and speak to the experts in the design team, and then have a time to go outside and have a celebration. Rediscover the Falls, our new friends group will be there. Let's see. Shoot. I'm also pleased to announce we'll be able to show the Architects in Schools project by John McLaughlin Elementary, who did their whole project on Blue Heron, and they presented to the CIC last month, and we were able to put their whole 8-foot long design in the lobby at OMSI, and all the kids are going to be there, so it'll be really fun to have them at the event as well. So the picture you see right here, some of you are in it, is from the Champions event in March of 2014. And this is a really special event. It provided a lot of momentum moving into the Framework Master Plan. And it also helped with the drive of making sure that this project is regionally and statewide significance. Every time I go to a Willamette Falls Riverwalk event, people raise their hands who have never been there before, and I'm just so surprised at each event how many new people we have, which is a good thing. And that is some of the reason why we are going to OMSI. One, it's actually a large enough venue for the amount of people we think are going to be coming, but also our goal is to raise awareness of this project region-wide and statewide. And so the ambassadors who came to the Champions event in 2014 really provided the momentum, and honestly, I think were some of the reasons why we were able to get some of that additional state money. So we are really calling on Oregon City residents to come on down to OMSI and be your best ambassador for Willamette Falls on the Riverwalk. The Riverwalk right now is an orange line on a map, and so through this process of the preferred design, we're going to turn it into an amazing three-dimensional open space concept. Let's see. We've had big public events. We've had community conversations. We've had one-on-one conversations. We've had small stakeholder events and technical design investigations over this last year and a half. And so what you're seeing on June 3rd is really this continuous engagement process the design team has had with the community and the experts. And so every time they had a chance to speak with people, that information was embedded in the work they did. So the public kind of sees these three finite events, but all in the background, the design team is continually doing technical investigations, refining designs, and coming back out to the community. So where we are today, you'll see June 3rd as the big public event, and after that, they move forward with phase 1, construction design and permitting. Hope to break ground next summer, but it'll be about a 3-year to 4-year design and construction process, but there may be potential interim access opportunities. There is free parking at OMSI attached to the, if anybody's asking, you can forward on the PDFs that are on the agenda tonight. Both the north parking lot, south parking lot, and potentially even the overflow are available. It's free parking, but admittance to OMSI is not part of the event. If you do not want to drive or unable to, the 33 line to the Park Avenue Orange line takes you directly to the OMSI stop.
So to be clear, you don't have to pay
Nope,
admission
you do not have to
OMSI
pay.
come to the event.
Correct.
Okay.
The 2 areas will be our non-admission areas. But if you want to go into OMSI, that's on your own initiative. So thank you very much, and I'm excited to see everyone attend the June 3rd event and available for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you there.
Okay, moving on. The 2017 Ruth Powers Preservation Award, Ms. Turway.
I am pleased to introduce Trevor Martin, our planner with the city.
Good evening. My name is Trevor Martin, planner with the Oregon City Planning Division. I am here tonight to introduce to you the Ruth McBride Powers Preservation Award. Ruth McBride Powers was a preservationist who used her family's financial resources to save many of Oregon's oldest buildings, and those buildings span throughout Oregon and throughout Clackamas County. Some of the homes that you may be familiar with would be the McCarver House, the William and Louisa Holmes House, and the Captain John's Ainsworth House. Some of the homes that she helped preserve in Clackamas County. And tonight I would like to introduce to you Jennifer and Darren Dobbins. They own the property at 708 South McLaughlin Boulevard, which is the Captain John Cochran House. And if I could just direct your attention to the screen here. If you just kind of just looking at the pictures kind of tells you the dramatic change that they've made on the home at this address. So the Historic Review Board thought that it was appropriate to nominate this family for this award.
What you said the address is what?
708 South McLaughlin Boulevard.
So is that Kenema?
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to picture where that was. I still can't see it, and I drive past it. I must drive past it every day going to Canby.
You're
So
going to notice it tomorrow.
yeah.
It's now just a nice looking home. That's
Yes.
you don't even notice.
Great.
So, and
The torch.
property owners are present if you would like.
Okay. Well, I actually have an award for the property owner. So. Gee, how are you? Good. He's pretty good. So come on up. So we'll present the 2017 Ruth Powers Award to these folks here. Congratulations and thanks for doing what you guys did to one of our historic buildings. You're welcome. Want to say something?
Just thanks. It was a pleasant surprise. When I received the note, I didn't know what it was for, so I was a little worried at first. But,
It's a letter from the city.
No, really, thanks.
Sure.
We really appreciate
No,
the
thank
fact
you.
that other people have noticed the work that we put into
No,
this.
we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Thanks again.
Okay, moving on. We have the proclamation declaring May 21st to 27th as National Public Works Week.
Yes.
And typically I do not read these proclamations, but today I will, given that Mr. Lewis might come turn off my water if I. So, whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to sustainable communities and to the health and safety and well-being of people of Oregon, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works professionals, engineers, managers, and field personnel in the public and private sector who are responsible for and must plan, design, build, operate, and maintain the transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems and structures and facilities essential to serve our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the United States of America to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understand the importance of public works and the public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff the Oregon City Public Works Department is materially influenced by the people's understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas National Public Works Week was instituted in 1960 by the American Public Works Association to call attention to the importance of public works in community life, and the United States Senate passed a resolution affirming the first National Public Works Week. And whereas Kate Brown, Governor of Oregon, signed a proclamation declaring May 21st through 27th, 2017 to be National Public Works Week, and whereas the year 2017 marks the 57th annual National Public Works Week, it should be recognized as Public Works Connects Us. Now, therefore, I, Dan Holliday, Mayor of the City of Oregon City, do proclaim the week of May 21st through 27th, 2017 as National Public Works Week in Oregon City. And I urge all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works professionals make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 17th day of May 2017. Dan Holliday, Mayor of Oregon City.
Oh, thank you.
There you go, John.
Thank you for that. All right. I was not expecting you to read that.
I know you weren't.
Mr. Lewis, did you write that?
Every word.
That's why it's the first proclamation I've done that has 2 pages. So
It was thorough.
And the screen didn't come down.
Just wait. It's coming.
So now we're on to citizen comments. Citizens are allowed 3 minutes to present information relevant to the city but not listed as an item on the agenda. Do we have any?
We do.
Okay.
Miss Jackie Hammond?
So I've got Trevor Martin and Jackie. No. Trevor's.
Sorry.
We still have a.
He's clear.
Okay, Jackie Hammond Williams. Come on up, Jackie.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Jackie Hammond-Williams. I live in the Park Place neighborhood, 14422 Holcomb Boulevard, but today I'm not here as a private citizen. I'm here representing the year-round farmers market. And I'll just be brief. Basically, I'm here representing, as I say, the market board, the vendors, the farmers, just to express our disappointment that because of the new sign code, we've been told to take our site banner down. This is a site banner that has been up since 2005, so for 12 summers we've had a banner at the site, and since May of 2015 we've had a continuous banner there because we not only have the summer but we also have the winter market. But apparently we were in violation of the sign code, which we do understand now. We didn't then. We thought we'd potentially be grandfathered in because we've been there for so long. The ramifications of that for us is that I've had quite a few customers come to me and say, wow, you're here. We thought you'd moved. We've been driving around town during the week. We don't see the banner up anymore. We're used to seeing it. We thought you'd moved or gone out of business. And nothing could be more from the truth. So really kind of, when I've explained it to them, it doesn't frame the city government in a very friendly light towards the market, which I know is not the truth because we've always had great relationships with the city and city staff. So I've explained, well, it's because we're in violation of the sign code. So I've had quite a few comments from customers. Would you want us to go and talk to the city? And I mean, no, that's fine. So I'm really here just to express disappointment. But at the same time, I do understand that there is a sign code. It was done for the good of the city. City staff worked on it extensively. There was public comment. public input. So we really do get that. So I guess today I'm just saying that if it is ever to be revisited, potentially down the road, we would love to be at the table, maybe discussing a little bit, and hopefully maybe getting some kind of sign back up for the market.
So let me update you just a little bit. Part of the reason that we're in this situation is that the banner area on Malala Avenue was across 2 PGE poles, and PGE has told us that we can no longer use those poles because the poles aren't stable enough anymore to take that kind of stress. We are currently working in the new
Malala
Avenue plan to hopefully get a city-owned banner location in that stretch as we do that project. So, it's the same as the murals. At some point, you have to draw a line and say, this is where the line is. And I didn't agree with everything that was in the sign code when it came here, but staff and the public worked on it for literally a couple of years to get it there. So this was not, you aren't being targeted specifically. There's a lot of folks that have gotten nailed by the sign code over the last year or so.
Yeah, and this is just to be clear, this is the banner on the site, by the county.
Right.
So the county were, yeah. I mean, I just see other banners up, like at the college and that are still flying up there. But anyway, thank you so much, and maybe if it's ever changed, we can come back and talk about it.
Thank you for coming.
If you would wait a second.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
I want to make sure I understand the situation, because I'll make clear, I'm a patron of the farmers market. I believe in it. I believe it's an incubator for businesses that subsequently can become brick and mortar businesses. I'm curious, does the banner predate the ordinance? Is that your position, or that's not your position?
Well, we've had a banner up every summer, May through October since 2005, but in May of 2015 was when we put the summer banner up. And then since May of 2015 at that site, we've had a continuous presence of a banner because we've had the winter market there. So it hasn't, it has been a different banner. It's had different wording, like it said winter instead of year-round. But we've had a banner there since.
So under the code, once you take it down, you can't put it back up.
Even if you take it down and preserve it through the winter months?
Right. So it's either up or you can't put it back up.
So had they left it up continuously, they would not be subjected to
the
this
same
situation?
banner, if they left it up, would still be okay, as long as they never took it down. But once you take it down, the grandfather goes away. Is that a simple explanation of the code?
That is correct.
Okay.
So I'm curious whether it may be time to revisit the sign code and see if there's any.
I would encourage that.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe there's some things that have come up that we maybe need to address and massage a little bit and see if there's.
I'd be willing to have that discussion in a work session in late summer.
I would support that as well, especially since we're going to be reinvigorating our tourism efforts, and we really want to promote the events and attractions that we have here in the city, and the opportunities to market have been reduced, not through any fault of theirs. So how do we get the message out? How do we have our events be successful and still respect the taste, I guess, of our citizens? I
think rather than revising the sign code, it might be worthwhile for us to have a discussion about finding a couple of other city-owned locations where we could do cross-street banners. Because once you open the door for someone like Ms. Williams for the farmers market, where do you draw that line?
I think that's what the
are you asking for a cross-street banner? I thought it was suspended on one side of the street only.
No, I'm just expressing disappointment that we had to take our actual site banner down that marks where we actually set up every week. That's all.
I understand the expectation of your vendors, too, that they get some exposure by the banner. It's already a dynamic marketplace. I'd like to see some effort to support it.
Sure.
Quick question for staff. Is there anything in the code right now, any provision to allow them to put a banner up?
Yeah, so the code provides a variety of signage opportunities, and so we've discussed that, and also encourage the farmers market to apply for Metro Enhancement Grant for a different type of sign. So as far as banners go, you can have a variety of signs. If you want a banner on a private property, you can do that, but it has to meet restrictions. And those restrictions include having the banner flush against the building, and then you have to get a permit for that banner. It's $50, and you can only have it up twice a year. So you can have a banner, but there are restrictions. You can always put banners and signs on the inside of windows. Those aren't considered in our sign code. Or
obviously, the farmer's market doesn't have any windows, right?
Right, or a building.
Or a building.
But you can have various types of signs, like more permanent signs or the A-frame signs, signs in the right-of-way. You can have flags. I mean, you can have a variety of signage types, but just banners that don't have any hard backing are not permitted in our code. And we did hear strong feedback from the public regarding that in particular.
So would the county allow you to put up a permanent sign on their property?
No. And it would cost thousands too, because they have definite codes. You know, you've seen their sort of national park-like signage that they have in. It's a color code. It's set in concrete. It's about 40,000. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Jackie,
you.
All right, thank you.
Jackie, I have a question. How long is your commitment with the county, or how long do you have rights to that parking lot? Certainty.
We don't have any. I mean, it's not certainty. It's sort of open-ended. I mean, I have an MOU, but it doesn't really have a date. You know, we're there by their grace, and they welcome us. So they've never set a date.
Okay.
You know,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just for clarity, was this a work session item request?
Yes.
Can we have a little bit of time having just...
Well, I said late summer.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Because I know, summertime is coming up, Memorial Day is coming up, and everybody starts to, be doing other things. I know I'm going to be gone a couple weeks in June, July and August. So, I think if we talked about, late August, early September, as far as maybe talking about this or giving you guys a chance to maybe come up with something, I'm okay with that. Everybody else okay with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Frank?
My only objection to it is, again, prime time for that market this summer, and the faster we could take action, the better. But I understand that we are who we
It wouldn't
are
be
as far as
fast
the commission.
anyway.
I think I just, we've gone through the goal setting for the 2 years, the budgeting process. A new the sign code is not an easy part of the code to open up.
No.
But we can have that work session discussion. Just appreciate it, a little bit of time while we get the other projects that we've been tasked to do going.
And after you've been here a while, you'll realize that the wheels of government grind exceedingly slow.
I guess I wouldn't be advocating for opening up the entire sign code. I would just be wanting to add an addition around events, around tourism-related things.
But the problem here is that it's not an event. It's a
tourism attraction.
It's an every Saturday thing. So, what difference then does it become than a tourism kind of business that isn't the farmers market? Say a rafting business or something else.
The fact that it's a combination of a lot of businesses. It's not one business.
I think this is what we'll be discussing. So.
Technically, it is one business. The farmers market is the umbrella for the vendors that come in.
Mr. Kabeisman is looking at you.
I mean, one of the primary difficulties with sign codes is content regulation. You really don't want to regulate content, and to the extent you want to allow banners for a specific use or specific event, anybody can put up banners about any use or event, including ones that the city may not be quite as receptive to, and how to structure it in a way that makes sense for the farmers market, and at the same time try to have some sideboards on it can be a very difficult thing to do.
Which is why we don't allow murals anymore. because anybody could put up a mural of anything, and do we want a mural of something pornographic on the side of one of our buildings in historic downtown Oregon City? And that's the reason we said no banner, no murals, rather than because we couldn't regulate the content. So
We'll
let's
bring this back for further discussion.
You guys go forth and think about that for a while and talk to us again in August. Is everybody okay with the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then we have no public hearings. Under general business, we have 17-306, Resolution 17-14, calling for an election and referring to the electors a bond measure for the construction of a new police and municipal court facility. Mr. Chief Band.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. We talked about this last week. We have a Resolution 1714. It's everything we discussed last Tuesday. There are some changes to the documents that are in front of you. I just wanted to go over those really quick. I think there were 5 that you brought up, and we made every one of them except for one, and I'm going to explain why we did not make that change. The things that are different, we added or fees to the first 2 sentences. Where it says approval of this measure will not authorize the city to impose additional taxes or additional fees. We had originally put taxes, and we discussed that and thought that was a good addition. There was an order of the explanatory statement, basically flipping it to most present and putting the history kind of at the tail end. The description in the summary of the ballot title now matches what was in the explanatory statement. And I believe that the approval of this measure was added to the first sentence of the summary and to the explanatory statement. I think Commissioner Wright had added that. And the only thing that was we were advised to not change was the word principal in question. Okay. And the reason was our bond attorney keeps us legal, and then the bond specialist kind of makes sure that we have as much flexibility as possible. And she has a lot of experience with bonds, which I've learned are extremely complicated. And essentially what it does is puts us in the best possible scenario down the road if there is a potential for a premium. I don't know if there will be or not, but do you want me to explain what a premium is? Okay. Is Wyatt here?
Nope. You're
All
on your
right.
own, Chief. Uh-oh.
Here he goes.
Buckle up.
Premium just means it costs more.
This is no. So this is with just put caveat. Or this is my ding-a-ling description of what a premium is. At the time that you go to get a bond, you kind of have a there's a projection or an idea of what bond you're going to sell, and you believe that you kind of shoot for what you think the interest rate is going to be. When you actually sell the bond, if there is a difference, if it comes in lower than what you projected, you are eligible. Some bonds, like the radio bond that you remember in Clackamas County, it's a very large project, and there's a premium where there is, and this premium is a couple $1 million, several $1 million more than we were going to have because of that difference in that interest rate. So when this happens, if the vote is yes, if we did not have that word principal in there and we were eligible to, for the same amount of money that we have to spend, get some more money, if there was a premium, we would not be able to go above $16 million. So if they said, look, for your money, you could get $16.5 million, we would not be able to do that. We would have to lower the amount that our bond was going to be to take advantage of that premium. So even if we're eligible, that doesn't mean that we have to use that money, but it leaves us with an option. I would love to see Carol Samuel's face if she sees the description I just gave her.
I'm going to send her the video.
Yeah. So other than that, we kind of across the board, every one of us who went through this document at length with your suggestions, I think they all read way better than they did when we first brought them to you. So thank you for the feedback. It's all there. If you have any questions, I will answer them.
Did you have a chance to talk to the gentleman I sent to you?
I did.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
I did. Barring any questions, our recommendation is that you pass Resolution 17-14, authorizing a special election in September. It would be exactly September 19th is the day of the special election in 2017, asking the citizens of Oregon City for permission to issue bonds and a principal amount of $16 million to be repaid with revenue collected through the Community Safety Advancement Fund.
Does the commission have any questions, statements? I know. Just giving the commission a chance first. Ms. Wilhite.
I'm Amy Wilhite, citizen of Oregon City. Sorry I didn't come to this earlier discussion on this. Love it. I just have one recommendation. The feedback, the most that I've heard, there were two problems. One, people thought taxes were going to go up. I know you guys have addressed this. And then the other is that there's a lot of misunderstanding that this building has to be built. So as I'm reading the explanatory statement, the paragraph that Oregon law requires that the police building be built, I would just suggest gets moved higher up because not everybody reads the whole statement. An example of that, the voters pamphlet that just came out, as I watched and discussed with people, if it had too many words, they didn't even read past the second paragraph. So my thought was the two most important things that you want to get out is you're not going to raise taxes and this building has to be built. So I would just recommend, if you could, to move that statement in the explanatory in the voters pamphlet and move it right underneath the line that said that it would not raise taxes. That would just be my opinion. So that those two things really hit home. That this has to be done, it's going to be done, and then it won't raise our taxes.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Anybody else?
I think she makes a good point.
I think that's consistent with our previous discussions about how much does the average voter read. I think we've taken every step that we can to make this clear and concise, to put to rest any questions, including not only will there be no new taxes, but no additional fees that would be applied to this. We tried to answer in helping structure this in the discussion to make it as clear as we can to the people of this city that there is no sleight of hand involved. This is a very straightforward proposition on a must-do basis. And we've tried to make it as clear as possible, and we've tried to keep it as short and the informative parts up front, as you said, Ms. Wiley.
So in looking at the explanatory statement or the description, there's one sentence that kind of gets at that. It says Oregon law ORS 4, you don't have to put all that in there, requires that police and other emergency buildings meet seismic requirements by the year 2020. 2022.
Yes.
And that's what we would move up to.
Do we? If we go to the if we go to the ballot title and summary, paragraph 5 says the same basic thing. What if we just flipped paragraph 4 and paragraph 5? So you move paragraph 5 up to where 4 is and 4 down to where 5 is. Does it change the reading of that to anybody?
I think we were trying to balance describing. We were asked to provide a better description of what we were reconstructing. So, I think it's a matter of order. And you're talking on the ballot title under the.
I'm talking under summary, yeah.
So a couple just thoughts, and some of this. So I think on the summary. I think the decision is if one thing, if we wanted to do, or on that same that the mayor mentioned, so there's that sentence, if this measure, under the summary and the ballot title, if this measure is approved, the new police and municipal court facility will comply with state required seismic safety standards for the deadline of 2022. It would be a simple move to just take that sentence and make it the second sentence, or, put a separate sentence after the first one,
right,
or after the third, and just leave that sentence on its own. If the goal is to highlight that, that's how you do that.
No, I like that. So
because of when this is, whatever, which one do you like? Second sentence or
third?
third.
I would say take the first sentence of paragraph 5 and drop it down and make it the second paragraph.
The other thing you could do under question is just say after municipal court facility to meet required seismic standards.
Or our maximum number count.
Yeah,
20.
There's a word count on question that I think that question can only be so many words, and I think we're there.
20 words, and I think this is 19 if I remember the word count.
I would keep it as simple as possible, and I would move it. There's the summary section that says approval of this measure, and I'd state it in the simplest terms possible. This is required to be completed by 2022. Required. I mean, I think the language below is actually kind of soft when you read it. You know, it will comply. Well, yeah, okay, it'll comply, but it's a requirement.
One thing that we're up against is I should record these conversations with the lawyers and the bond specialist. If my fear with our timeline and having to get this by our deadlines, if you back up when this has to get in, if we change wording on this,
You got to go back and talk to them about it.
And so,
as long as we leave all the wording the same, we just move it around, it's okay.
Then I believe we're safe, yes.
Okay. Then I would suggest that we just do what I just said. We'd take the first sentence of paragraph 5 and make it paragraph 2.
Is that a consensus?
Anybody disagree?
So you put it right after the impose additional taxes and fees?
Not
right, exactly.
New paragraph. So those two sentences would stand on their own as their own paragraphs.
What about the second sentence? The revenue bonds would be secured.
That becomes paragraph 3.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Leave
I was just going to leave it where it was.
Yeah, I'd leave that where it is. I'd actually put the sentence about if the measures approved about compliance with the state side. I'd put that. There's a first paragraph and then the second paragraph. If approved, the bonds will finance. I'd put it right behind that.
No, we're talking about putting approval of this measure will not authorize the city to impose additional taxes or fees, and then putting that next sentence as another paragraph right after that. Because, again, I think Ms. Wilhite's right. Those were the two main reasons that I heard people voted no, beyond I just didn't know what the heck was going on.
Right. So we got two things. So right now, this is ballot title that we're looking at. So if I'm hearing right, the consensus would be that, just to restate, 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph under summary, if this measure is approved, the new police and municipal court facility will comply with state-required seismic safety standards before the deadline of 2022. That sentence would become its own paragraph under the first paragraph in the summary.
Correct.
So my next question...
Wait. Would we need the words "if this measure is approved"? Since
we can't change any words without going back to the attorney.
All right.
I'm good with that suggestion. It gets it done.
Okay.
So then,
next question.
My next question is, under the explanatory statement, so in the 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph, we've got the same thing. Oregon law, it restates the same thing in a little bit more detail. Do you want to leave that there, or so this is what we flipped?
No, I would take that. That entire paragraph and put it directly underneath the first paragraph.
Agreed.
All the rest of that stuff, if nobody reads past those first two paragraphs, it's going to get the key points across.
Yep.
I agree. I think that's great.
Up front. Yep.
Okay.
So
is there a motion?
Well, I'm curious about one thing here. Back to the ballot title, we don't mention anything about the C-Safe fees at all.
Yes, right, we don't.
And I was just wondering, why that is, and if so, would we, if it said like under summary, there's the second sentence that says, if approved, the bonds along with the C-Safe fees will finance the new police.
Again.
I know it's a changing of words. I just want to make sure why maybe you left that out. So
And I'll explain that. The fact is that people get confused about that. So all we're trying to get the people to do is tell us, yeah, you can go build, you can sell the bonds to build the building. And
Or no.
no, we want them to say yes. I can say that as the mayor. Okay. So we don't want to do anything else that might confuse the situation. And we are now under a fairly strict timeline. So taking any time to change anything on, especially on this, could risk us not getting on the September ballot, which is where we want to be.
I hope it does not come off too as. I caught myself this week. Tony and I were talking, and he'd done some research on the principal word, and I found myself defending what had just been frustrating me that the lawyer was telling me, and I said something to Tony. But I mean, that's why we're paying them is to give us advice to make sure we're in a safe place. So it's I want to stick to not creating, because I just think it's a safest place for us to be.
Right. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve this with the changes in structure?
So move.
Just to be clear, that means for ballot title, the summary, the caption and question remain the same. The summary, the first paragraph remains the same. The fourth paragraph gets moved up to become the
paragraph 2.
second paragraph,
Right.
and everything else remains the same below.
The first sentence of the
Yeah.
fourth paragraph.
Yeah, only the first
Only
sentence.
the
of
first
that
sentence
paragraph.
of the fourth paragraph.
Fourth paragraph.
Of the ballot title and summary.
Yes, in the
And
summary
then
and the ballot title.
explanatory statement then becomes the
fourth
paragraph becomes
becomes the
the
second.
second paragraph.
Yes.
Okay, so we're clear on that. Is there a second?
Good.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Shaw, seconded by Commissioner Hyde. Is there any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Ide,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Right.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Mengelberg,
Aye.
Mayor Holliday.
Aye. So, does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Did you have a comment, Commissioner O'Donnell?
I thought that the reports submitted by staff were among the best reports I have seen to date, and you know how difficult I can be about things that are left out of the report. I think Ms. Turway's report was good, and only superseded by the quality of Mr. Lewis's report.
Wow. Just remember, I reviewed all those.
Well, my understanding is Mr. John Lewis's staff wrote that report, so I'm not sure where this falls.
And you get paid pretty well anyway, so I'm not, you know.
And John said if I said that, he would not drop the screen during this meeting.
Well, I think you might have liked it.
So,
Motion to approve consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, thank
Am I
you.
jumping the gun?
No, you can never
Seconded.
jump the gun with me. Thanks. So, moved by Commissioner Hyde, seconded by Commissioner O'Donnell. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Ide,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Mengelberg,
Aye.
Mayor Holliday.
I don't have a place to click.
What do you got? No screen.
There we go. Thank you. Aye. Okay. So now we're on to communications. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening, Commissioners. I have just a quick update or updates from John Lewis.
Right, I've got two. So, Jamie, if you could drop the screen. Make it really slow. Just slow it way down.
About halfway down.
I didn't write a staff report for either of these items, but we wanted to give you a quick update on the. A couple weeks ago, we received notice from DEQ on some fines that the contractor and the developer received. I would say that while we knew that there was some enforcement action, we didn't know when that was coming in. So learning that as a surprise was somewhat of a concern for me. But there's a lot of good things that are going on with the Cove, despite the fact that Main Street's been closed a lot longer than we thought. So I wanted to just kind of go over that. Tomorrow we've been having monthly meetings with the developer and the contractor team just to kind of do our best to kind of communicate a bit better on that project and make sure we fully understand what their plans are. But the good news is the heavy lifting, which was the mass grading that took I don't know, I don't have the yardage off the top of my head, but basically took all the dirt out of the North Park area and moved it onto Lot 2, is essentially done. There's still some fine grading that needs to happen there, but they really want that area to dry out, and they've accomplished what they needed to do, which was to move enough dirt to build their building pads. So most of that work is complete. There's still activity on the what would be kind of the north end of the lot. That's where all their construction trailers are and so forth. And the pathway is still diverted. We're going to wait till that area dries out because it's just saturated. But that, I would say the good news is the off-site work from a grading perspective is pretty much done. On-site grading, they've been had to use a lot of cement treatment to fill that lot and get the kind of foundation that they needed for that. And those lots, or that on Lot 2, under all those buildings, they need to actually certify the amount of compaction that each of those building pads receives. So how they got through that, it's a pretty complex site when you think about how they built just the foundation upon which the buildings will sit on. So most of that work is complete as well. There's still a few building pads yet to be fully graded, but most of the building pads are done and waiting for really a building permits to be issued. And I understand we're very close on building permits as well, so we would expect to see not only the earth movement equipment and that kind of stuff, then the utility work, but pretty soon we're going to see the building trades on those lots. So foundations will be the first place that you'll see activity. And I understand they have started to cut some of the foundation pads already, so that's good news. I think that's where this contractor will shine, is with its building construction. We're hoping for that anyway. I think the site and the complexities of the site, the utilities in particular, have been the big challenge. So, but they're making good progress on that. The gas company got a gas line in. They're able to, there's kind of, because they're lowering the road grade where there's a lot of existing utilities, combined with the landfill problems, combined with all this wet weather, it's just been a challenging project. But we kind of see some light at the end of the tunnel. And I guess what I would say is we're of the opinion that they're going to take most of the summer to finish up the Main Street extension, the roundabout, all the concrete work that goes into that, because they still aren't finished with the utilities. And so we're working with them on that. There's been a lot of what we call over-excavation just to deal with some of the encroachment of the landfill into the Main Street site. So the geotech has recommended deep excavations under all the utilities so that they have a good foundation to sit on, as well as the roadway. So that's a lot more material to haul off and a lot more material to bring in to fill. So that's definitely slowed things down. With regard to the DEQ 1200C permit, so we issue a erosion control permit for all our projects. This is a sizable project, so because of the size of this project, they're actually also required to get an erosion control permit, or what they call a 1200C permit, through the state of Oregon, DEQ. I think the challenges with this have been the timing of when they started communicating with DEQ and how they followed through with the management of their 1200C permit. Ours is much more about protecting the edges, making sure slopes are protected. But when we're talking about the size of this site and the amount of soil disturbance, this was definitely one that the state would require and has required to oversee. So we try to work in conjunction, but I would say the state works with a little different model than we do. We've reached out to them several times just to kind of communicate and try and say, hey, what's going on with your 1200C, and how do you feel about the way the work's going? And they're not, I don't know if it's a staffing thing or just the way they do business, but they don't always communicate as well with us. So that's why I was a little bit frustrated that we learned about the decision that they'd made kind of so late in the game. But at the end of the day, DEQ's got a standard formula for how they issue citations. We've received them not necessarily for erosion control violations, but for sewer overflows. So I know the process. I know how tight they are on that. They do have an opportunity for a public hearing, which I understand both the developer and the contractor are going to pursue. I think they have a good story to tell when you look at all the effort that they put into that. Because I mean, they really once they were in trouble, they brought a fair amount of resources to the project. So again, I think it's going well. This developer seems to be overcoming these issues and just taking them on as they arise. So we think the project's going well. Wish it were done sooner, but at the end of the day, they're delivering the end product that we were expecting them to deliver.
And when would the apartments be officially finished? What's the current timeline for that?
I don't know that. We've been focused pretty closely on public improvements and grading. I think that they're going to finish. They're going to start like 3 buildings first. I don't know if you know any more about this than I do, Laura, but they're going to start buildings in phases. I know it's at least a year beyond, so I think they hope to get everything done by the end of the construction season in 2018. But there may be a couple holdout buildings, so. Okay. I probably shouldn't even answer that one and just say I don't know. We can get back to you on that. Yeah.
We can get a calendar.
Yeah.
Estimate.
Okay.
Next item, different set of slides. So, just an update on the the region's effort on updating the regional transportation plan. So we have a transportation plan that's specific to Oregon City. The region has a transportation plan as well, and they update that every 4 years. It's a long process. Metro leads the charge on that, and we kind of follow on their coattails and provide information as required. So this process has been moving along. We've been aware, and some of you may know that this process is underway. It's just starting to heat up a little bit, and they're starting to talk about really project lists, what projects should be on the list, how much money the region is actually going to have available to fund this project list, because it's an aspirational list, and it's typically well underfunded. So there's more projects on the list, just like in RTSP, there's more projects on the list than we can afford to build. But there's a public process, and really we're in the kind of what they're calling the looking forward phase. And but it's almost done, and we're moving into phase 4, what they're calling building a shared strategy phase. So if there's the next slide, if you could just forward that. There you go. So this is kind of the building the RT investment strategy, and a lot of this is going to come before the C4 in the coming months. So Mayor, I know you typically attend those meetings. I think more and more often it's going to be important for that to happen. And really just recognizing thank you, Phil, they're looking for us to provide them data about cost estimates, project priorities, feedback on the criteria that Metro is setting. And right now the county's talking about, is that the right criteria? So the county typically talks about criteria and whether they like it or not. So there'll be more to come on that. But we've got this on we've got a better update planned in a couple of meetings from now. We just wanted to give you kind of a 5-minute preview of this and let you know that this process is underway. They're talking about it at the mayor's conference as well, I understand, from Mayor Knapp. He talked about that a little bit this morning, so look for that, and we can provide you any information you need about project lists or project costs or what we think about the way the process is going. The one thing that I'll say this round is they're doing a financial strategy that's looking at the numbers a lot more realistically than they have in the past. It seemed like they weren't as conservative as they are now, and what's clear is that there's really not as much money in the region to fund all the transportation needs, and it's not like there was anything. I don't know how they did it 4 years ago. It wasn't there, but to watch that process. But I just think that they're doing a lot more due diligence this time around to make sure when they make their projections about how much money the region is actually going to be able to raise through various forms of funding, federal funding to local funding, it's looking a lot more constrained. So that's all. Oh, sorry.
I can answer your question about co-phasing if you like. For Lot 2, all of the phasing will be complete by March of 2019. They're completing the build-out in 3 phases, so they're breaking that one phase into 3 phases, and they'll start closest to Oregon City Shopping Center and work their way forward. So the buildings with the commercial will be last.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's all we have tonight, yes.
Okay. Commissioners, anything? Right.
Yeah, just 2 things. I did attend the Park Place Neighborhood Association meeting, and we had a police officer there who was very articulate about the bond measure and did a great job explaining everything, as well as many other things that they talked about that evening. And then just one other thing, I wanted to update you on the status of the Oregon City Homeless Solutions Coalition that's happening out there. At this last month, we approved a charter which describes pretty much who we are and what our vision is. And we plan to come to several agencies within this, the city or the region, such as City of Oregon City, Clackamas County, Providence Hospital, perhaps other cities in the area, and others to request to be formally recognized. So Brian and I, perhaps others on the committee, steering committee, will be coming to the city and asking for your recognition in the near future. So I'm just wanting to give you a heads up on that. And that's it.
Anybody else?
It was my pleasure to attend the Willamette Falls Legacy Project Partners meeting this morning and witness the historic approval of the design and moving forward on the intergovernmental agreement. So it was a happy day today.
Yeah.
I attended a transportation meeting with Mark Meek. Mr. John Lewis was there as a speaker, and that was it.
So go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
So I want to make sure I invite everyone down to the Optimus Pioneer Family Festival this weekend at the Clackamas Park.
I did a bit on Terry Boyd's radio show today for that.
Good. And also, if you just didn't want to go down for that, but you need to go down and take a look at that park now and see what your Parks and Rec department does, Mr. John Waverly and Mr. Phil Lewis, and this is when that park really shines, is when they get ready for this. So it is in excellent shape. Good job, Phil, doing that stuff. So I get to do a fun thing tomorrow. In Mo's absence, I will be attending the Daily Journal of Commerce award ceremony for buildings that have been built this year, and the Oregon City Library is up for an award, is on the list, and we'll see. We'll be at the convention center tomorrow to see how that. So keep your fingers crossed there, and hopefully we come home with a trophy. So sorry you can't be there, Mo, but we're gonna do our best for you here. Last thing I wanted to do was explore. I'm always looking for new funding sources for our parks, and I wanted to see if we could have a work session maybe on Parks District. And I know you're kind of familiar with that, Mr. Lewis, and if there's an opportunity there at all, or if it's a moot point, if you wanted to talk to me offline about it or something, but if that's something that you think that would be a good discussion item at a work session, I'd like to hear that.
We can definitely put together some information for you.
Good. Thank you.
I would support that work session discussion.
Me
I'd
as well.
support the discussion. So I had a meeting with the new staff for Senator Merkley this week just to get to know folks. Jake Okenberg was a City of Portland guy, moved over to Senator Wyden's office, and has since moved on to Senator Merkley's office. And then Dan Mars, the regional or the local staff guy. That was a good thing. And to summarize what happened today at the Willamette Falls Legacy Partners meeting, as Commissioner Mengelberg said, we passed resolutions for both the approving phase 1, and at the June 3rd, you'll get to understand what phase 1 is. And we also passed a motion to approve the IGA. Both of those motions were pending the ratification by our separate agencies, so we'll see those come up, I believe, at our next regular meeting. So beyond that, I have nothing further. Anything else for the good of the order? Then we are adjourning into executive session.